The world will ask you who you are. And if you don't know, it will tell you. Program or be programmed. Meaningwave.
Let me give you a practical exercise. Tonight when you go home, take your desire, whatever it may be, and create a scene that would imply its fulfillment. Make it as natural as possible. If your desire is for a new home, feel yourself living in that home. Feel the texture of the furniture. Walk from room to room. Feel the joy of ownership. Then, and this is crucial, don't try to make it happen. Simply know that by feeling the reality of it, you have set in motion the law that must bring it into your physical experience. Your physical experience. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling. Feel as you would feel if your desire were already a physical fact. Persist in that feeling and watch how life rearranges itself to match your assumption. Now let me address something that often confuses people. They ask, but Neville, doesn't this mean we should do nothing? No, that's not what I'm teaching. Action will come, but it will be inspired action, not forced action. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will be moved to take whatever action is necessary, but it will feel natural and effortless. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling. Think of a composer writing music. He doesn't try to compose, he listens inwardly and records what he hears. Think of a great artist painting. They don't try to paint, they allow the image within to express itself through them. This is how you must be with your desires. The great secret is this: the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the very feeling that seals its fulfillment. The more you try to get it, the more you affirm its absence. But when you live in the end, when you possess it in consciousness, the trying ceases and the having begins. The trying ceases and the having begins. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling. Remember, the feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not the trying, not the effort, but the feeling.
With one another on many different things. It is only on this one point that they are in complete and unanimous agreement. Listen to what Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, said. He said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. Disraeli said this: "Everything comes if a man will only wait. I have brought myself by long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment." We become what we think about. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. And he also said, we need only in cold blood act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with our life that it will become real. It will become so knit with habit and emotion that our interest in it will be those which characterize belief. He also said this, if you only care enough for a result, you will almost certainly attain it. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. Only you must then really wish these things, and wish them exclusively, and not wish at the same time 100 other incompatible things just as strongly. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. In the Bible you read in Mark 9:23, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said this is one of the greatest laws in the universe. Fervently do I wish I had discovered it as a very young man. It dawned upon me much later in life, and I found it to be one of the greatest, if not my greatest discovery outside of my relationship to God. And the great law, briefly and simply stated, is that if you think in negative terms, you will get negative results. If you think in positive terms, you will achieve positive results. That is the simple fact, which is at the basis of an astonishing law of prosperity and success. In 3 words, believe and succeed. 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 Believe and succeed.
What we think about, we become. What we think about, we become. What we think about.
All right, I saw a story in the South China Morning Post. It asks the question, can you train your mind to be happy? And it says, yes, expert says. Would you like to know how? Would you like me to train you with my hypnosis experience into how to be happier? All right, well, I won't hypnotize you. I'll just tell you how to do it. Number one, whatever you think about the most is who you are.
It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most is who you are. Who you are. Who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most is who you are. Who you are. Who you are.
And you can change what you think about the most. It's easy. Watch. Think about your favorite animal. Could you do it? Yeah, of course you could. You all had a different favorite animal, but when I said think about your favorite animal, you could do it. So that was when your brain was focusing on a cool thing that you liked. Favorite animal. Probably made you a little bit happy. I mean, just a little bit. But during that time you were thinking about your favorite animal, you weren't thinking about some bad thing that could have potentially put you in a bad mood or affect your energy or make you anxious or anything. Whatever you think about the most is who you are.
It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most is who you are. Who you are. Who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most is who you are. Who you are. Who you are.
So, I just proved to you that if you just remember as a habit to change your thinking from whatever negative stuff to positive stuff. And it's really that easy. Just think about stuff you like. Everybody likes something. Think about a person you like, an experience you had, a walk on the beach, if that's your thing. Just think about it. And reduce the shelf time that you give to the bad thoughts. Because how much you think about something is what creates the structure in your brain that becomes semi-permanent. You can usually change it, but it becomes a little semi-permanent. So the more you think about positive things, the happier you're going to be.
It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most, it's who you are. Who you are. Who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most, it's who you are. Who you are. Who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most, it's who you are. Who you are. Who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. What you think about the most, it's who you are. Who you
In your world today, you've been conditioned to believe that effort, struggle, and constant striving are the pathways to your desires. The world teaches you to push harder, to fight more fiercely, to compete more intensely. But I tell you this, the very act of trying is the confession that you do not have. And as long as you are trying to get something, you are confirming its absence in your experience. In your experience. As long as you are trying to get something, you are confirming its absence in your experience. In your experience. You are confirming its absence in your experience. Let me share with you a principle that I know to be true, not as theory, but as a law I have proven countless times. The more you try to get something, the more you push it away. This is the law of reverse effort, and it operates with mathematical precision in our universe. When you try to get something, you are automatically confessing that you don't have it. And what you confess, you possess. I think about it for a moment. When you try to fall asleep, does sleep come? No, the harder you try, the more elusive sleep becomes. When you try to remember a name, does it come to you? No. It's only when you stop trying, when you relax your mind, that the name flows effortlessly into your consciousness. This is the secret I'm sharing with you tonight. In your experience. In your experience. As long as you are trying to get something, you are confirming its absence in your experience. In your experience. You are confirming its absence in your experience. Now let me take you to scripture, for the Bible is the greatest psychological document ever written. In the book of Matthew, it is written, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice carefully the tense used here. It doesn't say believe you will receive it, but believe that you have received it. This is the key to all manifestation. The great error of humanity is that they're trying to get what they already have. You are trying to become what you already are. The very moment you desire something, that which you desire already exists in what I call your imaginal act. It is already yours in the spiritual realm, and the spiritual realm is the cause, while the physical realm is but the effect. In your experience. In your experience. As long as you are trying to get something, you are confirming its absence in your experience. In your experience. You are confirming its absence in your experience.
pumpkin into an empty jug. The pumpkin grew until it completely filled the jug and could grow no more. When the farmer broke the glass, he had a pumpkin exactly the size and shape of the jug. If we're not careful, each of us can do a similar thing. We can mistakenly poke ourselves into jugs that limit our growth. But it is we who do the poking, not the job, not the company, nor the territory, nor the economy, nor the times. We do it. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves.
We do it. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. That's what I
We do it. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves.
We do it.
We do it to ourselves. That's what I
People who become outstanding at their work are those who see their work as an opportunity for growth and development and who prepare themselves for the opportunities which surround them every day. Preparation is the key. This means becoming so good, so competent at what we're now doing, we will actually force the opportunities we seek to come our way. It takes imagination, creative imagination, to know that diamonds don't look like diamonds in their rough state, nor does a pile of iron ore look like iron or steel. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves.
We do it. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. That's what I
We do it. We do it.
We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves.
We do it.
We do it to ourselves. That's what I We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. That's what I We do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. Do it to ourselves. We do it to ourselves. That's what I
All right, at long last, the user interface for reality. Some of these things you're going to say, hey, I've heard about those. First, you must accept the frame, at least as a filter, that there could be a subjective reality and that you can manipulate it. You should accept that systems work better than goals. People are telling me every day that they implemented systems and it changed their life. This is one of the biggest buttons on the interface for life. If you don't like where you are and you want to go somewhere else, learn how to build systems for everything from your diet to your career to your social life, fitness, everything. Talent stacking. The idea that if you intelligently add new talents, you become not just a little bit better, but exponentially better, because talents really explode your capability and your options. So this is one of the biggest buttons on the interface to reality. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. The interface to reality. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. Affirmations, the idea of writing down or visualizing your goals, seems to be something that gives you the impression that it works. And I say that very carefully. Does it work? Do affirmations change reality? I don't know. I can tell you that when I've used them, the results I've gotten don't seem like anything could have been natural. I cured an incurable voice problem. I had ridiculous stock market luck when I used the affirmations. My career, as I told you, is just crazy. The interface to reality. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. The interface to reality. It feels like it works, but I'm not going to tell you it does. You should see these as filters. If it feels like it works, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. If it feels like it works, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. The interface to reality. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. It feels like it works. The interface to reality. It feels like it works, but I'm not going to tell you it does. You should see these as filters.
Are the very nature of our being, and we are always experiencing our being, then why don't we experience peace and happiness all the time? The reason is simple. Whilst we are always experiencing our being, we don't always experience our being clearly, as it essentially is. Our being is entangled with the content of experience. When we drink tea, coffee, or wine, we are mostly drinking water, but we don't realize we are drinking water, as the water is mixed with various flavors, sweet or bitter. It is the same with our self or being. In every experience we have, whether pleasant or unpleasant, we are experiencing our being. Being is shining clearly.
If peace and happiness make up our being, how can it be so? That isn't all I know. Yet whether waking or if in a dream, in all that's ever been, is the shining of being.
In the midst of each experience, in all these drinks, tea, coffee, orange juice, and so on, is the thirst-quenching element. Likewise, our being is the thirst-quenching element in all experience. That is, our being is the only element of experience that can truly satisfy our longing for peace and happiness. The experiences of peace, happiness, and love are the shining of being in the midst of experience.
If peace and happiness make up our being, how can it be so? That isn't all I know. Yet whether waking or if in a dream, in all that's ever been, is the shining of being.
Share with you a personal experience. Years ago when I was in Barbados, I desired to go to America. Everyone told me it was impossible during wartime. The quota was small and the waiting list was long. But I discovered this principle I'm sharing with you tonight. Instead of trying to get to America, I assumed I was already there. I lived in the end in the feeling of already being in America. I walked the streets of New York in my imagination. Winter air on my face. I saw the tall buildings. I lived from that state of consciousness. I did not try to get there. I lived as though I was already there. And then the most extraordinary series of events unfolded. A man I had never met facilitated my journey. And within months, I was standing on the very streets I had walked in my imagination. You see, the secret is not in the trying, but in the assuming of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, let me show you how this principle operates in every area of your life. Whether it's money, love, health, or success, the law remains the same. The moment you stop trying to get it and simply assume you have it, the entire universe reorganizes itself to make it so. But you must understand, this is not positive thinking or wishful thinking. This is the law of consciousness. Consider this. Everything in your world is pushed out of your consciousness. Your consciousness is the only reality. When you try to get something, you are pushing out the consciousness of lack, of not having. But when you assume you already have it, when you live in the end, you push out the consciousness of possession, of having. Let me give you a technique I have taught to thousands, and it has never failed when properly applied. Instead of trying to get what you want, every night as you lay down to sleep, assume you already have it. Feel the naturalness of having it. Create a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the completeness of possession. Then fall asleep in that state. You see, sleep is the state of consciousness where your subconscious mind is most receptive. As you fall asleep feeling you already have what you desire, you are impregnating your subconscious with the seed of fulfillment. And just as the seed must fall into the earth and die to its current form to be reborn as something greater, your conscious mind must fall into the sleep state while holding the feeling of fulfillment. Holding the feeling of fulfillment. Your conscious mind must fall into the sleep state while holding the feeling of fulfillment.
Trying to get what you want every night as you lay down to sleep. Assume you have it instead of trying to get what you want every night as you lay down to sleep. Assume you have it.
This is what is meant in scripture when it says, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Your desire, planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind through the feeling of fulfillment, must grow and manifest in your world. But remember, you must stop trying. Trying implies effort, and effort implies lack. Instead, live in the absolute assumption that what you desire is already yours. Feel its reality now. Experience the joy of possession now. Let every action, every word, every thought spring from the consciousness of already being what you want to be. Having what you want to have. What you want to have. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville, how can I assume something is mine when my senses tell me otherwise? This is where the art of consciousness comes into play. Your physical senses show you the harvest of your previous assumption. They show you the effects, not the cause. The cause lies in your consciousness, and that is where the change must take place. When you walk into your room at night, you don't try to get light. You simply flick the switch, assuming the light will come on. You don't stand there trying to make the light appear. You act with the absolute confidence that the light will respond to your action. This is how you must be with all your desires.
Instead of trying to get what you want every night, as you lay down to sleep, assume you have it. Instead of trying to get what you want every night, as you lay down to sleep, assume you have it all.
Let me share another principle that few understand. The outside world is dead. It has no power to give you anything or take anything away. It is simply responding to your consciousness. When you try to change things on the outside without changing your consciousness, you are like someone trying to change their reflection in the mirror without changing their face. Your world is yourself pushed out. Every person, every circumstance, every event in your life is yourself pushed out. When you try to change them through effort, you are working on the reflection. But when you change your consciousness, when you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. Oh, ye had little faith. The reflection must change. This is why scripture tells us, be still and know that I am God. This stillness is not physical stillness, but the stillness of trying. It is the cessation of effort. It is the complete acceptance that what you desire is already yours. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. This is not a lesson in laziness, but a profound spiritual truth. The lily doesn't try to grow. It grows by allowing the life force within it to express itself perfectly. You are that lily. Your desires are the perfect pattern of your unfolding. But when you try to force them into being, you interfere with the perfect pattern. You introduce struggle where there should be only allowance. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. Oh, ye had little faith. The reflection must change. The reflection must change. Must change.
The usual frame, the old way of thinking, is that if things are going wrong, the universe is acting against you. Have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought, my God, the whole universe is acting against me. Nobody can have this much bad luck, one thing after another. Right? Ever have that? Very, very suboptimal way of seeing your world. Now I'm going to reframe it. The universe owes me. The universe owes me. almost impossible for anybody to have bad luck all the time. So if you have a string of bad luck, it is the surest sign that some good luck is on the way. Does that make sense? Because luck always gets to the average. People have average luck over time. In any small period of time, they might have extraordinary luck or bad luck. But over time, it's definitely going to go back to something like average. So if you're in one of those, man, I can't believe how bad this is, this week, it's the surest sign that the universe owes you, and it's going to pay you off.
Let me share one more biblical reference that beautifully illustrates this principle. Before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. This is telling you that the moment you desire something, it is already accomplished in consciousness. Your work is not to get it, but to accept it, to assume it, to live in the end. I want you to grasp this fundamental truth. Everything you want wants you. Everything you desire desires you. Everything you want wants you. Everything you desire desires you. But as long as you try to get it, you create resistance. The moment you assume you have it, all resistance dissolves. Tonight, dare to assume you are what you want to be. Dare to assume you have what you want to have. Don't try to make it happen. Know that it is already done. Live from that assumption and watch the miracle unfold. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being and having, you must become and have. The world is yourself pushed out. Change your concept of yourself, and you change your world. Stop trying to get it, and you'll have it. This is the law. This is the law. And there is no other way under heaven by which anything is accomplished. Everything you want wants you. Everything you desire desires you. Everything you want wants you. Everything you desire desires you. And all that you desire is already there, waiting for you to stop trying to get it. Accept it as yours. Now, go in peace, knowing that what I have told you tonight is true. Apply this law, test it, prove it in the laboratory of daily life. For I tell you, with God, all things are possible. And God is your own wonderful human imagination. Human imagination.
speaking, I will hear. Before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear.
William Shakespeare put it this way: our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. George Bernard Shaw said, people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. Well, it's pretty apparent, isn't it? And every person who discovered this for a while believed that he was the first one to work it out. We become what we think about. Now it stands to reason that a person who's thinking about a concrete and worthwhile goal is going to reach it, because that's what he's thinking about. And we become what we think about. Conversely, the man who has no goal, who doesn't know where he's going, and whose thoughts must therefore be thoughts of confusion and anxiety and fear and worry, becomes what he thinks about. His life becomes one of frustration, fear, anxiety, and worry. And if he thinks about nothing, he becomes nothing. And if he thinks about nothing, he becomes nothing. And if he thinks about nothing, he becomes nothing. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. Now, how does it work? Why do we become what we think about? Well, I'll tell you how it works as far as we know. Suppose a farmer has some land, and it's good, fertile land. Now, the land gives the farmer a choice. He may plant in that land whatever he chooses. The land doesn't care. It's up to the farmer to make the decision. Now, let's say that the farmer has two seeds in his hand. One is a seed of corn, the other is nightshade, a deadly poison. He digs two little holes in the earth and he plants both seeds, one corn, the other nightshade. He covers up the holes, waters, and takes care of the land, and what will happen? Invariably, the land will return what is planted. As it's written in the Bible, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. So up come the two plants, one corn, one poison. Now, the human mind is far more fertile, far more incredible and mysterious than the land, but it works the same way. It doesn't care what we plant. Success, failure, a concrete worthwhile goal, or confusion, misunderstanding, fear, anxiety, and so on. But what we plant, it will return to us. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. I don't believe in circumstances. The last great unexplored continent on the earth. It contains riches beyond our wildest dreams. It will return anything we want to plant. Now you might say, why don't people use their minds more? Well, I think they've figured out an answer to that too. Comes as standard equipment at birth. for nothing we place little value on. Things that we pay money for, we value. The paradox is that exactly the reverse is true. Everything that's really worthwhile in life came to us free. Our mind, our soul, our body, our hopes, our dreams, our ambitions, our intelligence, our love of family and children and friends. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. But the things that cost us money are actually cheap and can be replaced at any time. A good man can be completely wiped out and make another fortune. He can do that several times. Even if our home burns down, we can rebuild it. But the things we got for nothing, we can never replace. The human mind isn't used merely because we take it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. It can do any kind of job we assign to it, but generally speaking, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. Universities have proved that most of us are operating on about 10% of our abilities. Decide now, what is it you want? Plant your goal in your mind. It's the most important decision you ever make in your entire life. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. But the things that cost us money are actually cheap and can be replaced at any time. Do you want to be an outstanding salesman, a better worker at your particular job? Do you want to go places in your company, in your community? All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind. Care for it. Work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality. It not only will, there's no way that it cannot. You see, that is a law, like the laws of Sir Isaac Newton, the laws of gravity. If you get on top of a building and jump off, you'll always go down. You'll never go up. And it's the same with all the other laws of nature. They always work. They're inflexible. They're inflexible. They're inflexible. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. All these priceless possessions are free. But the things that cost us money are actually cheap and can be replaced at any time. Think about your goal in a relaxed, positive way. Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal. Ours has been called the phenobarbital age, the age of ulcers and nervous breakdown. At a time when medical research has raised us to a new plateau of good health and longevity, far too many of us worry ourselves into an early grave trying to cope with things in our own little personal ways, without learning a few great laws that will take care of everything for us. These things we bring on ourselves through our habitual way of thinking. Every one of us is the sum total of his own thoughts. He is where he is because that is exactly where he really wants to be, whether he'll admit that or not. Each of us must live off the fruit of his thoughts in the future, because what you think today and tomorrow, next month and next year, will mold your life and determine your future. You're guided by your mind. 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 You're guided by your mind.
Many of you came to me after our previous discussions asking, but Neville, if I stop trying, won't everything fall apart?
If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart?
Let me tell you a story that will illuminate this principle further. There was a lady in my audience in New York who had been trying to sell her house for 2 years. She had listed it with countless agents, reduced the price repeatedly, and was constantly trying to make the sale happen. After hearing this principle, she did something remarkable. She went home that night and did what I'm teaching you. Instead of trying to sell the house, she assumed it was already sold. She sat in her favorite chair and constructed a scene implying the sale was completed. In her imagination, she held the check in her hands, feeling its crisp texture. She felt the joy and relief of a completed sale. Most importantly, she stopped trying to sell it. Within 1 week, a buyer appeared who purchased the house at her original asking price. You see, the lady's constant trying was her confession of not having, and therefore she could only reap the harvest of not having. The moment she assumed the completed state, the law of consciousness had to operate to bring it into her experience.
If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart?
Let me take you deeper into scripture, for remember the Bible is not telling the story of historical events, but is revealing eternal psychological truth. Consider the story of the Israelites trying to enter the promised land. For 40 years they wandered in the wilderness, trying to reach their destination. But it was only when they stopped trying, when they followed the instruction to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, that the walls of Jericho fell and they entered their promised land. This is not just a historical account, it is your story. Your desire is your promised land. And your trying is your wilderness wandering. The walls of Jericho represent all the seeming obstacles between you and your desire. But these walls fall not by effort, but by assumption.
If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? If I stop trying, won't everything fall apart?
Oh, hey everybody. Glad you could make it. Today will be, for some of you, the most incredible day of your life. Not everyone. Some of you will just get a little bit smarter. Others of you will find a transformational experience happening tonight. Yes, tonight you're going to find out the user interface for reality itself. The user interface for reality itself. So that you can author your own reality. The user interface for reality itself. Don't believe it? Why are you here? Yeah, you're curious. You're wondering, do it? Well, you're gonna find out. Well, you're gonna find out. So, it turns out that there are some stories that can't be told right away. There are some things that by their nature cannot be communicated. There are a number of reasons why some stories can't be told. Maybe there's a secret involved. Maybe somebody's being modest and they don't want to brag. Maybe there's a lack of credentials involved. It might be a question of loyalty. You've promised you wouldn't tell somebody. You don't want to hurt somebody. It might be complicated. And so, just too hard to explain. This is important to know because you're going to wonder, why didn't I tell you where the user interface for reality was before? The user interface for reality itself. The user interface for reality itself. So that you can author your own reality. The user interface for reality itself. It's kind of a heck of a thing to hold out, isn't it? And the reason is, I couldn't tell you before. There needed to be a certain perfect situation. And that perfect situation happened today. Today. After 22 years, my plan came together. Today. And that plan was that someday I wanted to be in a position to tell you the thing that I'll tell you today that I couldn't tell you until now. The user interface for reality itself. The user interface for reality itself. So that you can author your own reality. The user interface for reality itself.
I remember one time I was driving through Arizona and I saw one of those giant earth-moving machines roaring along the road at about 35 miles an hour with what looked like 20 tons of dirt in it. A tremendous, incredible machine. And there was a little man perched way up on top with the wheel in his hands guiding it. And as I drove along, I was struck by the similarity of that machine to the human mind. Just suppose you're sitting at the controls of such a vast source of energy. Are you going to sit back and fold your arms and let it run itself into a ditch? Or are you going to keep both hands firmly on the wheel and control and direct this power to a specific worthwhile purpose? It's up to you. You're in the driver's seat. We must control our thinking. We must control our thinking. It's up to you. You're in the driver's seat. We must control our thinking. The very law that gives us success is a two-edged sword. The same rule that can lead a man to a life of success, wealth, happiness, and all the things he's ever dreamed of for himself and his family, that very same law can lead him into the gutter. It's all in how he uses it, for good or for bad. This is the strangest secret in the world. For good or for bad. This is the strangest secret in the world. We must control our thinking. We must control our thinking. wise men, and it appears again and again throughout the Bible. But very few people have learned it, understand it. That's why it's strange, and why, for some equally strange reason, it virtually remains a secret. I believe that you could go out and walk down the main street of your town and ask one man after another what the secret of success is, and you probably wouldn't run into one man in a month who could tell you. Now, this information is enormously valuable to us if we really understand it and apply it. It's valuable to us not only for our own lives, but the lives of those around us, our family, employees, associates, and friends. Life should be an exciting adventure. It should never be a bore. A man should live fully, be alive. He should be glad to get out of bed in the morning. He should be doing a job he likes to do because he does it well. We must control our thinking. We must control our thinking. It's up to you. You're in the driver's seat. We must control our thinking. Make a speech, the editor-in-chief of the Toledo Daily Blade. And as he concluded his speech, he said something that I've never forgotten. He said something like this: "My years in the newspaper business have convinced me of several things. Among them, that people are basically good, and that we came from someplace, and we're going someplace. So we should make our time here an exciting adventure. The architect of the universe didn't build a stairway leading nowhere, and the greatest teacher of all, the carpenter from the plains of Galilee, gave us the secret time and time again. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. As ye believe, so shall it be done.
Akira The Don.
It's not music, it's music plus.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world. Try not to bash into the walls too much. Try to have a nice family life. Have fun. Save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact. And that is, everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. Everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. Everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life, and you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something, if you push in, something will pop out the other side. Pop out the other side. That you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing. Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. Everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. Everything around you that you call life, everything around you that you call life.
All right. Here's one. How many of you have ever thought, or maybe gagged when you heard somebody else say it, that they were trying to find themselves? I need to find myself. I need to figure out, who I am. Bad idea. Here's the reframe. Instead of being an explorer and trying to figure out who you are, how about authoring yourself to be what you want to be? You can author your situation. You don't have to discover who you are. You can make yourself who you want to be. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. That's one of the great things about human life, is that you don't have to be. You don't have to be anything. Anything. You can author yourself into almost any kind of situation. Obviously you can't author yourself $1 billion just because you want to. Maybe some people can. But I love these words. Instead of finding yourself, author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Go on and author yourself. That's very powerful if you take that to heart. Author yourself. Because sometimes we forget that we have that power, that we can turn ourselves into whatever we need to turn ourselves into. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself. Author yourself instead of finding yourself.
Now, let me give you a practical technique that I call the Sabbath. In scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. This is your guide. When you properly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you too must rest from your mental labor of trying to make it happen.
Akira.
This is your Sabbath. This is your guide. In scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. This is your Sabbath. This is your guide. In scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. Every time you find yourself trying to make something happen, catch yourself and remember that trying is a confession of absence. Instead, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and rest in that assumption. This is what it means to enter into his rest. Consider how you operate when you truly have something. When you have money in the bank, do you try to have it? No, you simply know it's there. When you are in your own home, do you try to be there? Of course not. You simply are there. This is how you must be with your desires. This is your Sabbath. This is your guide. In scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. This is your Sabbath. This is your guide. In scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. The universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. What you are. What you are. It can only give you what you are. Let me share another principle that few understand. Your consciousness is God's gift to you, but what you do with it is your gift to God. When you try to get something, you are essentially telling God that his gift is incomplete, that something is missing. But when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are accepting the gift in its completeness. Many of you have asked me about taking action. Never you say, if I stop trying, should I stop doing? No, my dear friends, action will still occur. But it will be inspired action rather than desperate action. When you assume the state of the wish fulfilled, you will be moved to take whatever action is necessary, but it will feel natural and effortless.
Akira.
Think of a bird building its nest. It doesn't try to build, it simply follows its inner pattern. The action flows naturally from its state of consciousness. This is how your action should flow. Not from trying, but from being. Here's a profound truth. The universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. What you are. What you are. It can only give you what you are. As long as you are trying to get something, you are being someone who lacks that thing. But when you assume the consciousness of having it, you become someone who has it, and the universe must respond accordingly. Let me give you another technique to apply this principle. I call it the morning watch. When you first wake up in the morning, before you engage with the world, take a few moments to establish the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Don't try to make your day good, assume it is good. Don't try to be successful, assume you are successful. Start each day not by trying to get what you want, but by assuming you already have it. Here's a profound truth. The universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. What you are. What you are. It can only give you what you are. Here's a profound truth. The universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. What you are. What you are. It can only give you what you are. Remember the words of scripture, let the weak say I am strong. Notice it doesn't say let the weak try to become strong. This is the law of assumption in operation. You assume the state you desire to express, and that assumption persisted in will harden into fact. Consider your own experience. When you know something with absolute certainty, you try to know it. No, trying comes only with uncertainty. This is why I tell you, the feeling of certain of already having or being what you desire is the key to manifestation. Many of you are wondering about the time it takes for your assumption to become your physical reality. Remember, time is not a distance we travel. It is a bridge we cross in consciousness. The moment you fully assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have crossed that bridge. What appears as time is simply the journey of that assumption through the dimensions of your world.
The dimensions of your world. Time is not a distance to be traveled. It's a bridge we cross in consciousness.
Through the dimensions of your world.
Through the dimensions of your world. Time is not a distance to be traveled, but a bridge we cross in consciousness.
Let me share another secret. The feeling of relief is one of the most powerful feelings you can cultivate. When you try to get something, you feel tension, but when you have something, you feel relief. This is why it's so important to capture and maintain the feeling of relief that comes with fulfillment. I've taught thousands of students, and those who succeed are invariably those who master this art of feeling relief instead of trying. They learn to live from the end instead of trying to reach the end. They understand that the end is where we begin, not where we arrive. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, my desire seems so big, so impossible. Let me remind you of something. Size exists only in the world of effects, not in consciousness. In consciousness, the oak is not bigger than the acorn. They are the same thing in different states. Your desire, no matter how grand it seems, is not bigger than your capacity to assume its fulfillment. This is why scripture tells us all things are possible to him that believeth. Notice it doesn't say to him that tries, but to him that believeth. Belief is not trying to believe. It is the feeling of knowing. When you know something, you don't try to know it. You simply know it. Through the dimensions of your world.
The dimensions of your world. Time is not a distance to be traveled. It's a bridge we cross in consciousness.
Through the dimensions of your world.
The dimensions of your world. Time is not a distance to be traveled, but a bridge we cross in consciousness.
Dimensions of your world.
Let me show you my path toward figuring out the user interface. It's important that you know how I got there so that you can have some trust that there's something to it. When I was a kid, I was influenced, as was my mother, by the book The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That suggested that you could somehow change your life, or maybe you were changing reality, if you could simply think positively. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. So this was my first introduction to the concept that maybe reality was not fixed, and something that you were a victim of, but rather you could do something. There was some mechanism, some technique, some tools you could use to get some control over your environment and your life, as opposed to having it control you. And that was my first thought, that reality could be programmable in at least some simple sense. But of course, I embarked on a lifetime of exploration to find out if I could find out more about how to program reality. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. How to program reality. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. That led me to learn meditation. I became a trained hypnotist. Of course, mushrooms let you see the world in a completely different reality. And all of these things, from studying all the different religions to doing affirmations, which is really just visualizing what you want and writing it down every day. Visualizing what you want and writing it down every day. And then learning persuasion. These all had the same cumulative effect of teaching me that reality was indeed far more subjective than you're led to believe. And when I say reality is subjective, I don't mean that there isn't some base reality that's real. What I mean is that we don't have access to it. In other words, just take religion. Two people with completely different religions can go into a store, they can shop, they can get married, have children. They don't really need to reconcile the fact that they live in different worlds. One thinks there's an afterlife, one thinks there's reincarnation, one thinks there's nothing, and yet we all survive and thrive and reproduce. There's nothing to suggest that our brains are the kind of brains that can understand reality. Instead, all of the evidence suggests that we can put filters, optionally and somewhat subjectively, on our reality, and the thing that we deal with is a filter. We're not dealing with the underlying reality, but our filter on it is the thing that's real to us. And you can change those filters, so that's the important part. And you can change them fairly easily. And if you find a filter that predicts better and makes you happier, well, that's the better filter, even if it isn't a better approximation of reality. What matters is you're happy. What matters is you're getting what you need out of life. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. How to program reality. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. Program reality. You can change those filters. Change those filters. Change those filters. How to program reality. Think positively. Think positively. Think positively. So, once you accept that there's a subjective reality, you're starting to get ready to accept the user interface for that reality.
The fact, Captain. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Existence cannot be without them. What do you mean, Spock? Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Existence cannot be without them. Physical reality is consistent with universal law. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. There is no reality. There is no reality. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. Doctor, in your opinion, what killed Mr. Chillhop? A piece of lead in his body. Wrong. His mind killed him. Come on, Spock, if you've got the answer, tell us. Physical reality is consistent with universal law. Where the laws do not operate, There is no reality. All of this is unreal.
What do you mean unreal? I examined Chillhop. He's dead.
But you made your examination under conditions which we cannot trust. We judge reality by the response of our senses. Once we are convinced of the reality of a given situation, we abide by its rules. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Existence cannot be without them. Physical reality is consistent with universal law. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. There is no reality. There is no reality. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. We judge the bullets to be solid, the guns to be real. Therefore, they can kill.
Chillhop is dead because he believed the bullets would kill him.
He may indeed be dead. We do not know.
But we do know the Melkotians created the situation. If we do not allow ourselves to believe that the bullets are real, they cannot kill us.
Exactly. I know the bullets are unreal. Therefore, they cannot harm me. I know the bullets are unreal. Therefore, they cannot harm me. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Existence cannot be without them. Physical reality is consistent with universal law. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. There is no reality. There is no reality. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality. Physical laws simply cannot be ignored. Where the laws do not operate, there is no reality.
As certain as you are, Mr. Spock, if we're saving lives.
Precisely.
That's not possible. There'll always be some doubt.
The smallest doubt would be enough to kill you.
This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you assume to be true. This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you assume to be true.
Akira.
Let me tell you about one of my most remarkable students. She was a woman who had been deaf in one ear for over 40 years. Medical science had declared her condition permanent. But she understood this principle deeply. Instead of trying to hear, she assumed she was hearing perfectly. She didn't try to heal her ear. She simply lived from the assumption of perfect hearing. Within 2 months, her hearing was completely restored by being her doctors. This brings us to what I call the law of perpetual creation. Every moment of your life you are creating through your assumptions. When you try to get something, you are assuming you don't have it, and therefore creating more of not having it. This is why it's so crucial to master your assumptions.
This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you assume to be true. This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you assume to be true.
Here's a practical exercise I call the daily reset. 3 times each day, morning, noon, night, take a moment to reset your assumptions. Ask yourself, if I had what I desire, what would I be assuming right now? Then assume that. Don't try to make it true. Know that your assumption makes it true. Remember the biblical story of the prodigal son. Notice that the father didn't try to make his son return. He assumed the return in his heart. And that assumption drew the son home.
This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you sense to be true. This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you sense to be true. This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you sense to be true. This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you sense to be true.
This is how your consciousness works. It draws to you whatever you assume to be true.
Hey guys, do you have any advice for younger guys who are having issues with depression/loneliness? It feels like men's mental health isn't taken seriously. Thanks for the laughs, they make a difference more than you would ever know. More than you would ever know.
100%. We all feel that stuff. You can chalk a lot of that up to testosterone being depleted, hormonal warfare, genetic warfare, eugenics. You can chalk it up to that. You can get down that rabbit hole if you want to. I mean, we can go all the way with that. But the only power you have in this world, we all feel the depression. You all feel something you think it's your heart, but it's not. It's your gut. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. The only power you have, you gotta pay taxes, you gotta die, you gotta do this and that, you gotta do all this, but the only power in the world that cannot be taken, it can only be given, is your thoughts. And it gives up. There's an energy. Prayer is the only power you have. The only power you have is how well you can pray, how well you can master your thinking. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. Think along those lines when it comes to crippling depression. You think along those lines and they will help you more than other things that are offered to you or things that you might think are useful. They are less useful than prayer and what you think. Don't just give your attention away. You have to make it work for you. You are a machine that creates. You are a God that creates. You can't give it away. You are a machine that creates. You are a God that creates. You can't give it away. You are a machine that creates. You are a God that creates. You can't give it away. You are a machine that creates. You are a God that creates. You can't give it away. You can't give it away. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. You can't give it away. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. The only power you have in this life is what you think. What you think is amplified. What you think manifests. Say drugs or supplements or exercise, and that's okay.
Band-Aid broken leg stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Fundamentally, what you're thinking around the clock is more important than even a shot of testosterone. Most important. Most important. I have to say that.
I started to feel that I may have discovered the user interface for reality.
Akira
The Don.
The reason that I thought that is that my life was working out so well that I couldn't explain it in any ordinary way. I tried to become a cartoonist with no experience in cartooning, without any experience. I was the hottest cartoonist in the country. At about the same time, I had written my first book. It was a #1 New York Times runaway bestseller, with no experience at writing books. And there were a number of things that I was touching and doing, and it seemed as if I could manipulate reality. But here's the thing. Was I manipulating reality to get these ridiculous results? Or was I simply good at my job? How can I tell? How would I know if I were manipulating reality? Because that's sort of what it felt like, but that didn't seem right? Or was I just good at my job and I didn't realize how good I was, so I performed better than I expected? Maybe. Could be. It's possible. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. And it seemed as if I could manipulate reality. But I wanted to test it. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. And so in 1997, I did a bold experiment. And the experiment was this. I very publicly and annoyingly made a prediction. And I chose an area in which I had no expertise. I thought I would try something that was just impossible. I would make the most unlikely prediction and then wait as long as it took for it to become true. And if indeed I could hit the most unlikely prediction, then maybe other people would believe me when I explained to them the user interface for reality. I predicted that in my lifetime, the theory of evolution would be debunked in scientific terms, not in religious terms, but in scientific terms. You can imagine how well that went over. Obviously, I'm a nut, and I should not be listened to, and you shouldn't listen to anything else I ever say. That was 22 years ago, 23 years ago. So something happened today that was a very big deal in my life. And it was that there was a podcast, Patrick Urelshi. He told the story he heard of my prediction about evolution being debunked. And then he brought the story into the question of the simulation. Now, of course, if the simulation is true, then what we believe about evolution probably isn't. Because you don't need evolution if you have the simulation. We just are here, and our history is created on demand whenever we go looking for it. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. And it seemed as if I could manipulate reality. But I wanted to test it. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. What Patrick did is told you something that I couldn't do myself. I couldn't tell you that my prediction had actually came in. I've been trying to, but I feel like I had failed at it because I'm not credible about judging my own prediction. Obviously, I've mistaken it. If the simulation is true, evolution isn't. So 22 years later, there's now a competing theory that serious scientists buy into. And although you can't tell which one is the true one, if either one is, maybe neither, maybe they're just filters, what you can tell is the odds. Maybe 1 billion to 1 for the simulation. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. And it seemed as if I could manipulate reality. But I wanted to test it. Maybe. Could be. It's possible.
It's possible.
So, having nailed my 22-year gamble that I could make a prediction so unlikely that the best explanation is that somehow I'm authoring the reality just as a filter. Again, that doesn't mean that I can actually change reality. It means that if I put that filter on it, I get good results. And if you just think you're happy but you're not, are you happy? Yes, you are. If you think you're happy, you're happy. If you thought you went through life as a billionaire, but you were just crazy and you weren't, still good? Still good, because you're happy. You thought you were a billionaire. So accept your subjective life. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. Maybe. Could be. It's possible. And it seemed as if I could manipulate reality. But I wanted to test it. Maybe. Could be. It's possible.
The mirror method. When you look in the mirror, don't try to see what you want to see. Instead, assume you are seeing what you want to see. Your physical reflection may not change immediately, but persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, the mirror method. Now, some of you might be wondering about action. Remember this principle? Right action flows naturally from right consciousness. When you assume the state of your wish fulfilled, you will be moved to take whatever action is necessary. But it will be inspired action, not desperate action. Consider how you act when you have something you once wanted. There's no trying, no forcing, no struggling. You simply act from the state of having it. This is how you should act now, from the assumption of already being or having what you desire. Let me address those of you who are impatient for results. Impatience is just another form of trying. When you truly assume something is yours, you become patient because you know it's already yours. The seed doesn't try to become a tree. It contains the tree and naturally becomes it. Your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, the mirror method. Your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, the mirror method. Here's what I call the Sabbath state. In this state, you rest from all trying because you know it is finished. This doesn't mean you become inactive. It means you act from the certainty of fulfillment, rather than the uncertainty of trying to achieve. Remember, every time you find yourself trying, it's your signaling. Don't try to stop trying, that's more trying. Instead, simply assume the state where trying is unnecessary, because you already have what you desire, the mirror method. When you look in the mirror, don't try to see what you want to see. Instead, assume you are seeing what you want to see. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, the mirror method. Your consciousness. Your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, and your reflection must conform to your consciousness. your consciousness. Persist in this assumption, the mirror method.
Akira.
The Don.
He's got clout.
These are the buttons for the user interface. These are the buttons for the user interface. First, you must accept the frame, at least as a filter. You should accept that systems work better than goals. Systems work better than goals. Talent stacking, affirmations, the mating instinct, fear, curiosity, novelty, contrast, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, the fake because, pacing leading, aspiration, association, pattern recognition, visualization, pattern recognition, visualization. These are the buttons for the user interface. These are the buttons for the user interface. First, you must accept the frame, at least as a filter. You should accept that systems work better than goals. Systems work better than goals. Talent stacking, affirmations, the mating instinct, fear, curiosity, novelty, contrast, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, repetition and simplicity, the fake because, pacing leading, aspiration, association, pattern recognition, visualization, pattern recognition, visualization. These are the buttons for the user interface. 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 This is my lesson. I hope this was useful. This is the sort of lesson that might not change you tonight, but it's never gonna leave you. But it's never gonna leave you. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You're all changed, you don't know it yet. And this will become sort of a, let's say, a framework that you now have added to your mental map. And now when you see things that fit that framework, it will get stronger over time. And so you'll see that this view of the world will take root, and then every time you compare it to the old way you saw, you're going to say to yourself, wow, is that a coincidence? Because this new way of looking at the world just feels like it predicts better. But I'll keep an eye on it. So this will get stronger and stronger over time, and maybe never stop getting stronger. These are the buttons for the user interface. 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 Feel free to refer back to this often, and I think you've got everything you need now to author your own life. You're no longer a victim of reality. You are no longer the subject of reality. You're now an author. You're now an author. You're no longer a victim of reality. You are no longer the the subject of reality. You're now an author. Some of you were already authors, and now you're better authors. And those of you who didn't know you could be an author of your reality, well, you just found out. And I will leave you on that, and you can have a terrific night tonight. And the rest of your life, it's looking good.
As we conclude tonight, let me leave you with this final truth. You are not going to get what you want. You are going to get what you are. Therefore, instead of trying to get something, be the person who already has it. Live from that assumption and watch as your world reshapes itself to match your new state of consciousness. The practice is simple, but it requires vigilance. Watch your assumptions as carefully as you would watch your step in a dangerous place. Your assumptions are creating your future right now.
You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want.
Remember this principle of stop trying to get it, and you'll have it. It's not just a technique. It's a fundamental law of consciousness. It operates whether you believe in it or not. Just as gravity operates whether you believe in it or not. Go forth now not to try but to assume, not to become but to be, not to get but to have. For in consciousness, where all creation takes place, what you assume as true is true. And what you believe you have, you have.
You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. Not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. Not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want.
And now, my dear friends, our discussion comes to a close. But remember, what you've heard tonight is not just information to be remembered. It's truth to be lived. Let every moment of trying become your reminder to assume. Let every appearance of lack become your opportunity to assume abundance. For in the end, it is not the trying but the assuming that creates your world. And when you truly understand this, you will know the peace that comes from ceasing all trying and resting in the assumption of your wish fulfilled.
You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want. You're not gonna get what you want. You're gonna get what you want.
Good night, and God bless you all.
Meaningwave, helping you achieve your potential in this lifetime.